So if you have any background in the church, then 1 John 4 is going to be a familiar passage to you. And the hope here is you read it together as a group tonight, and as I highlight passages from it, is that it breathes new life to you and that you read it almost as if you're hearing it for the first time. And if you don't have a background in the church, the hope here for you is that it gives you a clear understanding of the character of God and the love He has for you, and at the same time shows you what it really means to love one another. So you know that like every house has the junk drawer. You know what I mean? Like it's that drawer you put things in when you don't know where else to put them. So in many ways when it comes to defining love, it's actually really hard to define because our culture today, like we love everything. And so love has almost become this junk drawer word that doesn't carry much meaning anymore. So here's what I mean. I love my wife, I love my kids, and I love my family, but I love biking. I love a good steak. I love a beautiful sunset. I love the church. I love the Cubs. I love a quiet afternoon reading a good book. I love Taco Tuesday at Moe's. Right? Like, do you hear how love becomes this junk drawer word? When we love everything, do we really then know what love is? And surely the love I have for my wife and my kids is different than the love that I have for Taco Tuesday at Moe's. So when the scriptures tell us to love one another, it's best to first define love biblically so we understand what we're actually called to do. And it's also good to understand the origins of love in the first place. And so our text tonight is 1 John 4. So verse 7 says that love is from God. And the verse that comes right after, verse 8, says that God is love. So it means that He is the author. He is the creator of love. And love to God is not just something that He does. It's actually something that He is. So the essence of God is love. So it still then comes down to defining it. So 1 Corinthians 13 helps us with that. It actually says that love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It's not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. And then it says this, that love bears all things, it believes all things, it hopes all things, it endures all things. So do you see a difference here in the way the scriptures define love and the way that the world defines love? See, a God-defined love is a choice. It is sacrificial, selfless, giving. Where a worldly defined love is emotive and selfish. It's a feeling that can come and go depending on the circumstances, depending on your mood. I mean, one of the simplest ways that we see this expressed in our world today is with the phrase, we fell in love, or we fell out of love, right? It's feelings-based, and it's selfish. And it makes it sound like we have no power. It's just the way the wind is blowing today. I couldn't help myself. I fell into love, or I couldn't help it. I fell out of love. But true God-defined love is an intentional, spirit-driven, grace-empowered choice to love. To die to yourself, to your needs, your wants, and you're preferring others ahead of yourself. See, that's love that is from God. That is the love that God has shown us. It's why when we begin to see and understand the love that God has for us, and that has been displayed ultimately and supremely through the giving of His Son, Jesus, to redeem and reconcile us back to the Father, it should then cause us to examine our hearts and lives and to see if we are truly loving others the way God has loved us. That's why John says that there's really no way you can say that you actually belong to God if you're actually failing to love others in the way that God has loved you. Now, we're going to fail and we're going to fall down time and time again, but what gives evidence that we are of God is going to be how we respond when we fall. So when you fall, when you slip up, do you run and hide? Do you try to clean yourself up through good works, think then that's going to make everything better? Or when you slip and fall, when you sin, do you run to the cross knowing that it was there that God's love was made manifest? It was shown. See, when we fall, do we confess? Do we repent? Turn back to Jesus for forgiveness, and then by God's grace, go seeking then to display the love that we have then been shown to others. You see, this text, it really invites us to examine our lives. It should cause us to pause for a moment and make sure that we are truly understanding what it looks like to love one another. It's not about just speaking kindly. It's not just about being cordial with one another. No, biblical love is about dying to yourself, your needs, your wants, and putting the needs and desires and wants of others before yourself. It's about sacrifice. So in what ways then do you need to repent? In what ways do you as a group tonight need to grow in your understanding of God's love and how you are then called by the grace of God to go love one another?